recognize a lot of familiar faces from years gone by. I just wanted to begin with just a little history of the Mcpherson School, and then we've got all kinds of memorabilia around here on the tables and here on the easel. So we'll give you time afterwards to look them over, see if you can identify some of the people on them. This was from the Historical Society in Madison, so I'll just read part of this. It says, the history of the Mcpherson School. The following was taken from the school records and written by Mr. Walter Brink for the program on May 30th, 1965, for the last picnic and gathering of the former teachers and pupils. There were approximately 200 people present for the occasion. The last class to graduate from the Mcpherson School were 3 people. The school had a total enrollment of 17. Mrs. Myra Regals was the last teacher when the school came to a close this last term. She also was the teacher who had taught the longest, coming in 1956. The Mcpherson School was named for James P. Mcpherson. He lived in the immediate area and was elected to town office as early as 1850. One of the first schoolhouses built in Springdale was the McGregor School in District Number 5. School districts were formed by town board action. This schoolhouse stood in the front part of what is now known as the Oak Hill Cemetery, there on Highway G. It was built in 1851 or 1852. It was believed that Sanford Schumann, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly, was the first teacher. The second schoolhouse was built on this site in the early 1880s. The structure was of stone, and when it gave way to the present building, the stone was crushed for the foundation. On July 10, 1916, a resolution was adopted to build a new schoolhouse on the present site. 12 votes were cast, 12 yes, 0 no. A temporary loan of $3,000 was made to cover the cost of the building. When the school term began on September 7, 1916, the building was not completed. During the first 4 months of this term, classes were held in the Christ Zerbachen home. On January 1st, 1917, this building was ready for occupancy. At this time, Florence Rude Way and myself started in the first grade. So that's Walter Brink and Florence Way. Some of you may know George and Mabel Way's daughter. In 1909, a resolution was passed to purchase 1/2 acre of land from Balti Hefty. In July of 1920, another 1/2 acre was purchased from the same man. Not until 1919 was a well drilled. It was drilled by Ernie Bowe at a cost of $350. When this building was erected in 1916, the building committee was composed of H. Stugart, Charles Colby, and Chris Bringold. During the summer of 1916, many meetings were held and much important business transacted. Many people in the district worked to construct the building. As a compensation, manual labor was paid 25 cents an hour. If he furnished a team of horses, another 25 cents was paid. When material was hauled, 10 cents per, I'm not sure, 10 cents per something was paid. The school terms were not always 9 months. As late as 1909, teachers were hired for a term of 2 or 2.5 months in the fall, and then again in the spring. I suppose the winters were too cold. At that time, the terms went to 4 months and later to 9. Teachers' wages kept abreast with other prices. Many of the first teachers taught a fall or spring term for $50 or $60. At the turn of the century, C.L. Colby received $33 per month. By 1911, $45 was a good wage per month. As long as records are available, the state and county have contributed toward the school district operation. In 1889, the county paid $66.20, and the state gave $19.79. In that year, The district levied a tax of $171.40. That sound like your school taxes this year? Not until after 1900 did the district levy a tax to exceed $200. In 1916, $400 was raised, and in 1918 it reached $700. Fuel bills have raised as the years have passed. In 1884, the cost of the wood was $14 for 5.5 cord. In 1908, it cost $23.10 for fuel, and not until 1908 did I find a bill for coal. This, by the way, is written by, I think I mentioned Walter Brink prepared this. Some of the earlier citizens whose names appear on school records are Henry Ragey, James Mcpherson, John Corner, H.J. Miles, Ferdinand Clutie, Carl Culloth, Hannah Henderson, Carl Burmeister, John Clow, Tom Adam, Carl Mayhews, John Fargo, Albert Beard, and Raymond Beard, and William O'Connor, and many others. Many of you here today lived in this district at one time and have contributed toward this school in one form or another. So that's a portion of what Walter wrote. So it gives you just a little history of Mcpherson. So it's really my privilege to introduce my teacher in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, I believe it was, Cleo Henning. Now Cleo Brockman. She lives over by Black Earth, a little ways out of Black Earth, and she's spry and she's on top of everything, and she'll tell you all the stories about Mcpherson School. Cleo.
Would you like to give her
Thank you, Nona.
This is okay for you.
Where does it have to be about like that? No, it doesn't want to stay. I can talk pretty loud.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, I want to say that I am so happy to be able to be here today. It certainly brings back memories of my very first teaching. Am I talking loud enough? Can you hear me? I can push it up some more there. So as I said, I was delighted to be able to come today and share memories. Also, to see and visit with some of my former pupils that are out there. It is wonderful to see them. They don't look as young as when I started teaching, and we all have aged. I was attending Whitewater Teachers College during World War II. And so when the war started, there were many war jobs available that paid much more than they were paying the teacher. The teachers were poorly paid. The teacher at the Mcpherson School at this time was Ruby Howry, and I did know Ruby. She was from Black Earth. She left the teaching job and got a war job in Mississippi. And she left in the middle of the year, which was very unusual, right after Christmas. And so Mcpherson was without a teacher. And I had only been in college a year and a half at Whitewater, and they let me go to Mcpherson to teach under their supervision. They came out from the college ever so many weeks and would supervise me. Now, I got $120 a month, and oh boy, that was a good salary. That was my first earning money. And I just thought it was excellent pay. Also, I didn't have a car. I didn't even have my driver's license. I was around 19 and 20. or 20 years old. So, guess what? I had to stay in the district, and I stayed at Alvin Hefty's home. And I walked to school and walked home at night. The people in the area were really just wonderful to me. Then, later on, I stayed at I also stayed at Delps, at your folks, Eugene, yes. Because at Alvin Hefty, where I was staying, he passed away. And it was quite unusual. I had a bedroom on first floor, and at that time, they brought the bodies to the home to view, and they'd be there overnight till the funeral the next day. So Alvin's body was brought to the home, and I was on first floor, and so was this body in the living room. That was kind of different. I had never done that before. It's scary. And so after that, then that's when I went to stay with your folks, wasn't it? And then I did stay at Philip Andrews too for a little while. So I stayed at 3 different places. So later on, I stayed in Verona. I still didn't have a car, and I still didn't drive. I stayed at Albert and Etta Dees and rode the high school bus that went out in the country to pick up the high school students. And at night, the bus would stop and take me back to Verona. And this wasn't a school bus, it was like a van where it had the seats, along the side. No seat belts. And I was trying to think of the bus driver's name, but I can't think of it right now. Anyhow, he was telling about how he had picked me up at the school. We had one Lucille Stugart to leave off at her place. And it was snowy, and the roads were not good, and it was kind of an off-road, and he went up that road. Lucille left, got out of the bus, and when he left, we started to slide on that road. So here I am, flying around on those seats, from one seat to another. And he didn't let me see, but he told other people that he was laughing at me. He thought that was funny. So that was the experience I had riding the school bus. Now, over the years, I've kept contact with many of my pupils. I have also gone to quite a few funerals, and I've also had contact with parents of my pupils, and many other friends in the area too, young boys and so on. Like there was Noel Way and Ray Schmidt, and those are the two that I can think of right now. I'm always going to have wonderful memories of my first rural school, and I just think too, it means so much to you because that's when I started to grow up and had to go out and make my own money. And I have had a lot of nice, pleasurable years of teaching. Now, I'm going to ask you to sing a song. Will this tip off from here?
No, it shouldn't.
Or is that
Let's put it up here where it belongs.
Oh, I am, okay. I brought my music along, and you can hand one out to each one. You could.
Yes.
Does she need the microphone?
Will you need the microphone, Susan?
Huh?
Will you need the microphone?
I don't think so. Here, I'll show you how loud it is. I'll get it organized here.
perfect.
Do you play any instrument?
No.
No? She'll get a copy. You gotta sing.
Everybody will run away.
Is there a history of the song? Is there a history of this song?
You know what, as I said there, I have one little school across from where I live, and this is a song that we always end up singing together. I like to sing America or America the Beautiful. You have to be careful because it has the word God in it, and so that's how I came up with that song. Did we have enough copies? Okay, I'll play a little introduction. I'll play what I played before. Oh, is there another copy, Nora?
Sure.
Yeah, there's
Oh, I'm
one.
sorry, I missed you.
No, I passed it away.
Well, we gotta have your voice.
Yeah, right. Everybody will run away.
Everybody got it?
Harlan, you carry all solvents. Yeah, right.
I just sat down, the notes got too small for me.
Nona, Cleo,
Yeah,
do you have any special little stories that you would like to say before you finish up?
Perhaps
they
one
were
of
all
your,
so good at that time, you know.
perhaps one of your students had something you'd like to share, an experience with us.
I know, I had a lot of fun when we would have Christmas programs. I enjoyed that. I don't remember, did I ever have you play rhythm band instruments? Do you remember, Gene? Well, that's what I did in the next school. We played rhythm band instruments, and I had a lot, and then I played on the piano and worked out different things. It's still not. But I think having the Christmas programs and we have the parents come, I just think that was such a wonderful experience because the songs that the children sang, they did not hold a copy of that song in their hand. They sang it by heart. And we gave little plays. Sometimes they were 2-act plays, and they learned all their parts by heart. I would type it out for them, and they would learn that. And also, they got up, the little ones would get up and say some Christmas pieces. And they learned their pieces by heart, of course, too, because they weren't able to read. And I can remember this didn't happen at Mcpherson, but at one of my schools. I taught at the dance school, and there I went for 8 years, and then I went back there and taught 4 more years. And we'd have the preschool kids, the ones that weren't in school, they said pieces too. And I can remember one little girl that got up and she was going to say her piece, and we had curtains, you know, that we'd pull shut and then we'd open. And they were open for her to say her piece. She stood there and she said, "Well, shut those things." So there were a lot of interesting things that happened, and what a wonderful learning experience that you had to memorize by heart. Also, I realized that not everyone can memorize as well as someone else, but you took that into consideration. But that was a wonderful thing, how the boys and girls could get up in front of their parents and present plays. I enjoyed that so much. I think we even had Halloween programs once in a while too. So, no, I could tell a lot of things. I'm trying to think of, I thought of one more thing when I was talking, but now I forgot what it was.
Say, Cleo, why don't you tell what you do now in your little one-room school by your house?
About the one-room school by my house?
Yeah, what you do now.
Okay. Right across from, I live on a farm near Black Earth and Mazamini. It was a house that was built in 1800s, so it's a real old house. And my husband, it's a stone house, and my husband and I built on a kitchen and a dining room and a bathroom, and then we put stone on that too. So if you can see, I got a little black and blue mark here. It was all black and blue up in my forehead. I was outside pulling some weeds by the house, and I guess I got overbalanced, and I fell and I hit my head against the stone wall. And so that's where I got the black and blue mark. So, and now, Nona, what was I supposed to tell about?
Tell about your one-room school.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Where you
Now, the one-room schoolhouse that is across from my place is about 162 years old. And so for about 15 years, I have gone over to the schoolhouse and I've told them about a one-room school. They first and second graders, sometimes they'd be first graders, sometimes second graders. And they would come from Black Earth and Mazo and Sauk and Middleton, Cross Plains. I've had some from Madison. Now this year, I've had just one group that's coming on Friday from Black Earth. There aren't as many groups coming now. There will be over 40 boys and girls coming. And there aren't as many coming now because the field trips have been kind of cut down on account of money and so forth. And so I have enjoyed that a whole lot. So anytime you want to see the one-room school, I'm right across from the school. And in the summertime, it's open for visitors on Sundays and on holidays. Like the first day it'll be open now will be Memorial Day, and then on all the Sundays until Labor Day. And then 4th of July on holidays, it will be open. So, is that, are you going to come and visit?
You dress up with your clothes?
I almost did today, but I didn't. Then I got a hat. It's an old hat with ostrich feathers, pink ostrich feathers. And then I usually wear a a black skirt and then something, like maybe, I don't know, something to go on a blouse, a white blouse or something. So anyway, on Friday then, the boys and girls that come out from Black Earth, then they have a picnic lunch. A lot of the parents come and they have food that we had years ago, like fried chicken and hard-boiled eggs and things like that. The kids enjoy it a lot, so.
Do they have goiter pills?
Brad wondered if you had goiter pills.
Yes, I used to tell about that, that we have goiter pills, and you have to watch Sharon's nodding her head. Because if you did, it's better if the teacher passed them out than if the kids did, because the kids would take more than one, because they were kind of chocolatey tasting. You know, they liked them, so if they could have more than one, they'd take it, didn't they, Sharon? Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I had one bit of news. I received a email from a gentleman in, I believe it was Vermont, and his name was Mcpherson. And he wanted to know where the Mcpherson School was. And I was unsure of it, of the exact location. So I found out and emailed him back. And then I received another email from him, and the James Mcpherson person that founded the school was a relative of his, and he wanted to know where it was. And I got another email from him saying that yes, he had been out there and visited the old school, and he was, you know, thanked me for finding the location for him. So, I don't know, Nona, do you have anything else here?
Yes.
Perhaps I can just share a little bit of things that are on this tag board, and then there are lots of other. Jane Lund brought a beautiful notebook with pictures, and she has all the names written underneath, so be sure you look at that notebook. And I think someone else brought some things too, I believe, right? Anyway, here is some of the, you know how we used to get our school pictures taken and then you'd exchange your picture with all your friends. So these were some of the gals and guys from Mcpherson School that I exchanged pictures with. This was a picture of our school. I believe I was in 8th grade, and Maritha Ray was our teacher at that time. And here is Cleo's wedding picture. And it was a big deal, I know, for Doris Erb Daniels and Levon Beery. And
I remember, I do have a picture. There were so many that came from the McPherson area to see the wedding. Yes, I have a picture when we're coming out of church, and there's people on both sides.
Was that wedding in Black Earth? Was the wedding in Black Earth?
It was at Middleton, at St. Luke's Lutheran Church.
At Middleton, okay. Well, there's a picture of Cleo and Harris, and here's Cleo and her 2 bridesmaids, so you might want to come up and look at that. And then I did have an article that's very old. Yes, this is a copy of something that was written by Margaret Mcpherson Burmeister. She was from New Glarus, but this is written some time ago about James P. Mcpherson. And she just says, James P. Mcpherson left the city of New York April 30th, 1850, came by way of canal, arrived at Buffalo May 11th by way of Grand Reno, Cleveland, and Detroit to Milwaukee. Left Milwaukee for Madison the 17th by wagon. At that time, they had 4 small children, age 6, 4, 2, and 3 months. And there is an obituary that I found among my grandmother's things for an Anna Mcpherson, and we have figured that out, that she was the 3-year-old at that time. So you can imagine the hardships that they withstood at that time. So this letter is up here if you want to look through that. There's another picture here of our class. I believe that's when I was in 8th grade, and our teacher was Maritha Ray, who was sorry that she couldn't be here today. And don't forget to look at Jane's notebook here. This is beautifully done with pictures and names. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. Thank you.
Would you like to call on people that would like to?
Yes, is there someone here that would like to share an experience from the school?
All of them.
I'm sure there's some good stories out there. Clint, knowing you, you've got to have a good one or two. How about Will? You got anything to share?
Well, I got one thing. That's all right, I can talk about it. Okay. If you know where Mcpherson sits, there's about a 15% grade from the school down to close to the road. And our ball diamond sat right there in that thing, so third base was about 15 feet higher than first base. So you ran level to first, uphill to second, uphill to third, and you go like hell downhill to fourth. But I remember Cleo, I just cannot run. I cannot run at all. I can do a fast walk and that's about it. But I remember Cleo was out there coaching our softball team, and I hit the ball, and I was, quote, running to first base. Cleo let out a yell, and she says, "Is that as fast as you can run?" And I've been ruined for life. So it was quite a baseball diamond, or quite a softball diamond. But I'm right, it was sad like this.
These are the stories that are so fun to hear, and I'm sure there's more of them out there.
We had a teacher by the name of Mr. Avang. And in the spring,
Use the mic, Glenn.
in the spring, we played at least 3 or 4 games of softball a week. And we didn't have nobody to get us at the place where we were playing. So he had an old car, I don't know what kind, I think it's probably a Chevy, with running boards on it, and he packed so many kids inside the car and slammed the door shut, and then the rest of us would step on the running boards and hang around the post and take off to the school to play ball. And that's what our entertainment was for. We did that more than learning.
Must have been 3/4.
Yeah, that's all I ever remember, is just playing softball all the time.
Okay,
How
is
far
there,
did you have to go hanging on to the running board? Or is
Well,
that
we went
down
over to White School,
Oh,
Riley School,
Valley View, oh my goodness.
yep, Andrew Henry.
Wow.
Back then, they didn't think nothing of it. Hang on, they're tight, and away you go.
Didn't have your seatbelt on.
No, we didn't have our seatbelts on either.
I'm sure there's more stories like that. How about Maynard? You got something that you'd like to share? Come on. Anybody else?
Getting back to what Willie said about the ball diamond, our folks' farm was just across the field, about 2 blocks away from the school. So we had hot lunch every noon, go home for hot lunch. But then also, when we played ball there, the dad could look up there and see who was playing ball, and once in a while, Gene wouldn't be out there. And I'd come home, and how so you weren't out there? Well, I guess I must have done something wrong, so I had to stay in at recess. So it wasn't always good to be that close to home either. And by being close to home for Miss Henning over there, it was a little closer to school than it was to the Hefty farm. It was then. But, and then we had the woods and back.
Yep.
of the school, and we would go up in the woods and play up there and make huts.
Yep.
We would. Right?
Yep.
And that was fun. Then, of course, we had furnace, and we had to take clinkers out and put them up by the woods then, and to stoke her up the coal. That was before they got fuel oil with it then. So I guess that's about all I can add to
Yes,
it.
outside toilets too.
Yeah,
That
outside
was
toilets.
Especially in the wintertime.
I was reading a little bit about this, and he mentioned the furnace, taking the clinkers out. I noticed in there they bought 5.5 cords of firewood for $18 and something. I'd like to be able to get a cord of firewood for that.
Yeah.
Anybody else like to share an experience?
I didn't go to Mcpherson, but my husband, Maynard Red Chapman, did, and he doesn't want to talk, so. He always tells our kids about when you had different chores. It might be hauling the erasers together or burning the waste paper, and one of the times it was his turn to burn the waste paper, so he went out and he lit the fire, and he was kind of looking around, and all of a sudden he realized that the leaves around the burner were burning, and he was trying to stomp it out, and he realized it wasn't going to happen, so he hollered. What did you go up to the window in the school and hollered, "Help, help, fire," and all the kids come out with any container they could find, whether it was a wastebasket or whatever, and with water, and they got the fire out, so.
Hey, these are really neat stories. Here's another one.
Yeah. Well, in my 3rd and 4th grade, I had Mr. Raving for a teacher. Can you hear him? Ever hear all right? And anyway, if you were misbehaving during class or when you're supposed to be studying and like talking and stuff, and then you'd all of a sudden, penalty on you, and they need to write your name down on a little index card, and so that's before nowadays that would be cruel and unusual punishment. We had to stay in during recess, and anyway, then okay, time to go outside and play, and anyway, might as well try to get out, and Mr. Aving would pick up that little index card and nope, Ronald, you gotta stay in here, So then one time I thought I'll get even with him. I went up and pretended I needed help on a question, and while he's looking at my textbook, and my other hand I'd pick up that little index card, and he couldn't remember it without writing stuff down, so we were all home free. We all got to go outside.
Well, Red doesn't want to talk, but when I went to school with Red, he was one of the upperclassmen, and he was the only other person in school who had red hair. I caught all the grief because I was the youngest in school until Gary Mittoon came, and his hair was redder than mine. So there was 3 of us. So it kind of proved that we were kind of budding out to be able to have red hair in the school because everybody else had brown or blonde. So we did have a few companions.
Okay, anybody else like to share their memories or special stories? There's got to be some. Richard's got to have something. Anybody else? They like to cover everyone here. Okay, if nobody else has a story to share, somebody over here? Jane? You don't, I'm sure you do.
She walked further.
Jane has put together a very, very nice notebook up here that people should take a look at before they leave, because it really is very well done. It's easy to read, and it's worth your time. So if nobody else has a story to share, I think we'll call an end to this and let people mingle and look at things that are here. Deb?
I belong to Historic Madison. I belong to Historic Madison, and I have all these newsletters. I'm trying to clean things out, and things that they, put out every year. And I'm just gonna leave them on the table if you just want to take them home, read them if you're interested in what goes on in the city of Madison 100 years ago.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I just want to thank Cleo again for making the effort to come all the way from Mesa Maney, and her driver, Sharon. Sharon, I've forgotten your last name. Everett. I know Sharon from traveling with the bank. We've been on many a trip together, and I remember Cleo being here in Verona for some occasions at the church. Which is surprising because I don't remember faces, but I really want to thank you for making the effort. And I also want to thank Nona, who is just a sweetheart I said, as long as I have a warm body of somebody to lead the group, I know it's going to go well, and thank you so much for all your work.